Good morning, everyone. We welcome you here in our guest speaker talk, and we are privileged to have engineer Taha Sajid with us today, who is a chief blockchain consultant and fintech expert with several institutions like Limor Global Tech. He's the founder of a fintech startup, Smart Mobile POS. And he's also a blockchain training alliance certified instructor and solution architect. He is a fintech and regtech senior advisor in Hashcash consultant in the US. He's also associated with building fintech labs and Saudi digital transformation advisory role, and mentoring numerous blockchain and fintech startup for solution architecture and business planning. He has also done several talks in several institutions around the globe, and we are really privileged to have him with us here today. I don't want to, with no further delay, I think the floor is yours, Engineer Taha.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Yumna. I'm very glad to be a part of this, delivering a session to you all. I hope you all are doing good, and you have to just enjoy this session. And I'll just take you through the slides and my session right now. Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, so the topic that I'm going to deliver is digital transformation drive in financial services. Why I chose this topic? Actually, there is a lot of reasons. If there is one space which is really evolving when it comes to digital transformation, it is the financial services. And the impact that has been having it in the financial services is enormous. When it comes to, if you just see around yourself, I mean, the projects that has been going on from the government perspective all the way to the private sectors, all the private sectors are, exploring different use cases. So that's what I feel, when it comes to digital transformation, you have to have good hands-on, on what you can contribute and how you can add the value. So that's why I choose this topic. Yeah, just a brief introduction about me. Actually, Dr. Yumna have already, already briefed you about me. But yeah, this is what I have, achieved so far. So I'll not go into these details. You can catch me on LinkedIn, and also you can directly, have your queries answered through my email. Okay, the rule of this session, let's to be like, what are we going to have it? So the session is recorded, as you know. The video participation is encouraged because now we are having these online sessions, and it's very important that the session will not be boring, and you have to participate in let's say the Q&A, and if you have any question, and you have to clear it out. And for any QA, if you have during the slides, if you feel that you need to ask something, you can always put that in the chat box, and the mic will be muted unless there is a Q&A. You can raise your hand, and Dr. Yumna will facilitate you to have your mic open. And then feedback is also very important for us. If you feel the session has added value to you, you can definitely feedback, and I can always improve on what I'm presenting. So that's also very important. Okay, so the agenda for today's session is that we will be going through the basics of fintech. So let's say, what is fintech? How it is different from the traditional technology? If we, let's say, compare the underlying technologies, what are the technologies that is being influenced or that financial services is influenced by? And then we will be discussing a brief ecosystem about all this fintech to P2P lending, or with respect to capital market, or with respect to crowdfunding platforms. So if you just see around, there are a lot of landscape of finance which has been impacted. So we will take you through a brief high-level introduction about each of these our financial landscapes. Primarily I'll be discussing the use case examples using blockchain, AI, and cloud computing, which I believe that these three technologies are been impacting the financial services more than ever. And you need to have a solid grip on these technologies if you, let's say, want to proceed into the fintech career. Then we'll be briefly discussing about the recent developments in the fintech space in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, and in UAE. How the what are the recent developments, and and why it is important for you. And then in the end, which will be most important for you, we'll be discussing the career building roadmap. Like, for instance, if you're graduating from your program, how you can land a good job in the fintech space, and what are the important skills and tools you need to have it if you want to excel in this field. Okay, so yeah, so let's go into the fintech 101. If you, let's say, want to define fintech, or rather, I would ask you that, if, let's say, in your daily life, what are the things that you are experiencing in the fintech space, or you can say, are you been doing any hands-on with a fintech device? If I may ask you, if anyone wants to comment on this. Because I'll be not going through the all the traditional definitions. I'll be rather having an interactive session in which I'll be asking you something, and then you can reply me back that, okay, so that we can move forward from there. Yeah. So if anyone on the chat window, if they can mention any of the fintech device that they are being experiencing on daily routine basis, if anyone wants to comment on this. What do you think, guys? I think, are we having the chat box open?
Yeah, so you have answers from people saying Fintech Bay, Benefit Bay, because this is the famous wallet that we have here in Bahrain. So basically,
Okay.
all they do all the transfers from banks to banks through it. So and Sajid as well. So this is the
So
wallet.
usually if we just go back, or when this online banking started, or when this now we are moving towards the cashless society. We're not carrying the cash anymore. So what we are experiencing is that we are using our debit card to just withdraw the amount, or do the transactions. So that is how the fintech is, you can say, defined. If you just bring technology into finance, okay, it can transform its shape, or it can leads to some interesting use case. Before, we used to make some payments, we have to go to a bank, let's say, and and deposit any or deposit some amount, and then the bank will take, let's say, 1 to 2 days to transfer the amount. Now it's like, if you are having your application, let's say a peer-to-peer application, you can directly send the amount to your peers. So what we are saying, fintech is like, if you are involving any technology, let's say it can be an internet only, okay, it can be blockchain, it can be AI. So any technology which you will introduce, or which you will merge in the finance sector, will leads to some innovative use cases, and hence the name fintech. So this is all about technology into finance. Okay, so moving on. So what do you think, what are the main technologies that is being disrupting, I would say, the finance sector? I'll start with telecom. Okay, if you know, like, in the years back in 1990, or early 2000, when during the days of when you let's say in Africa, or in some parts of the world where you cannot access to the banks, how they were communicating to their, or if they want to, let's say, buy or have some basic financial services, what they were relying on. They were relying on just a phone, okay, with an internet connection. Okay, so there is one service which I remember in Kenya, which is M-Pesa. So what they do is that they have just an internet connection, and they were using their telecom operator to actually send the message, or send the money through SMS. So we have seen that actually fintech is not something very new. It's been evolving over the time, but the main technologies, which is, let's say, the root or the pillars of the fintech, is basically internet and telecom. This is where from the thing started. We used to have the online banking, then we were relying on telecom operators to provide the internet, in those areas where the connectivity is not possible or where the banks were not there. So we were bringing, so this telecom or the internet technology were bringing financial inclusions, were giving the financial services to the people who don't have access to the bank. So this telecom is very important sector, you can say, or the technology, you can say, which is giving boost financial sector. And now we are also seeing the 5G, what role it is playing, in respect to, because if we are thinking about fintech applications which is catering a lot of data, so to move the data from, let's say, one place to another place, you need to have good bandwidth and and small latency. So this 5G, when it's now we are seeing a lot of operators bringing 5G. So this will also enhance the financial sector into the next level. So the second technology I would say is blockchain. Blockchain, I'll just be going through with blockchain in the next slides, but just to give you a high level overview. So blockchain is, just a distributed ledger technology, which is just immutable database. So how the fintech is being, how the finance is being disrupted, because in the finance, if you see the landscape, you will be storing your data in your, let's say, in your databases. Okay, and if you always rely on third-party institution to actually carry forward your transaction. So let's say if you want to send your money to someone in the US, okay, you will rely on a payment gateway to process your amount from, let's say, from Bahrain to the US. Okay, but if, let's say, if you're using blockchain, you can replace that intermediary party using a smart contract, and you can all automate that process. So in this way, we will not only be removing the middleman, okay, but we will also be having a good track of our information, which will reduce your cost once you are sending to your peers, and also it will save your time. So we'll be going through this in more details in the next slide. Okay, so with AI, AI technology, which has been there for ages, I would say, so with machine learning algorithm or with advanced analytics, you will be able to do some amazing things, right? When it comes to biometrics or with respect to facial recognitions, so you can do a lot of KYC. This all process is now smoother, and now we are relying on different machine learning algorithm to process the information which previously the banks or the teller services which used to do it. So this is also been very good in this space. And then we see that it's cloud computing now. Previously, the challenge which the bank used to have it is to, let's say, replace their legacy system, because if you're talking about technology, you need to build some new business models, and you need to have, let's say, the new architecture or the software as a service offerings in your platform. So with cloud computing, with pay as you go model, it has also been influencing influencing the banks to try out different new models, and also is bringing new fintech players with, let's say, the use of technology, however, using the cloud architecture just to store their data so that they can still be in the game, with all of these big players. Okay, then we have data analytics. We all know that, if, let's say, if you're doing a transaction anywhere using an online platform, you will see the Facebook is giving you the ads of that, of that transaction, or the favorite things that you are buying. So data analytics with AI is also transforming how we used to do the financial services, and it's actually better in a way that we have been although our data is not that safe right now, but still we can know that, okay, what our spendings or how we can save the money. If we can have some tools which can evaluate like what are the how much I'm spending my monthly, or how much I'm spending on my grocery, I can still save some money. Okay, then we have IoT devices, sensors. If you just go to the bank, you'll see different IoT, sensors, which is just, sensing. Let's say if you want to, let's say, open a bank account. Okay, with that IoT sensors, you can have your smartwatch, which can connect with your account. And if you let's say if you want to have any transaction, or if you receive any notification, you can have your smartwatch and have your sensors in place. And by the way, with sensors you can now also pay or use your, let's say, for the or for the car parking, if you want to pay, let's say, some amount. So the IoT sensors will detect that, okay, if you are on your designated parking place, and then you can pay out from your or from your account, So this is how the different technologies are impacting the financial scape. However, there are more technologies, but I'll just stick to, let's say, three, okay, for this session. So let me take you to the blockchain thing. So what we'll do is that in this slide, we'll just go to these different points one by one. Okay, so and I'll be explaining you each and every of these points. Okay, so let's say we all know that blockchain is here since now or since now 10 years or so. But if we, let's say, wants to summarize it, or what is it actually, So if I just explain you in a simpler words, now in every organization, let's say a financial sector or a supply chain, what you are doing is you are basically playing with the data around. Okay, so let's say if you're an employee, okay, you are saving your employee data will be saved somewhere, or if you are having, or if you are a bank, okay, you are involved in some financial transactions and maintaining some ledger. Okay, with ledger I meant just a database. So what blockchain is a distributed ledger technology, which means that if I'm storing, let's say, some information, it is distributed to multiple domains, and I can have multiple peers connected with each other having the same copy of the information. Okay, so that is why we are calling it a distributed ledger technology. You can think of as a WhatsApp group in which you will be sending a message, and that message will be stored on each and every phone. Okay, and then it is decentralized, which is, let's say, the power is not controlled into one centralized domain. It is distributed. It's a distributed ledger. Since it's a distributed ledger technology, so therefore the power or the control lies on different nodes themselves. It's not on a centralized authority that the control is on. Okay, and then it has transparency. It brings transparency. Why? Because if, let's say, if you are recording something on blockchain, it is immutable. The record cannot be changed. Yeah. So if, let's say, if you have a real estate property and it has different ownership, okay, if, let's say, if the ownership, if you can track, so you can have the transparency in that whole in this whole use case. And if that information is being transmitted to each and every of your peers, then it brings transparency, so everybody knows that what's going on. Yeah. So then, okay, this point is like the cryptography. Okay, let me so that you can be okay. So with cryptography, you all know that what cryptography is. If you don't know, then I'll just give you one small example. So if, let's say, if I'm using a set of keys, which is public key for my address and the private key just to sign that transaction. So what it means that if I'm signing a transaction with a small sort of key you can think of as an algorithm, okay, or a cryptographic value, which is hash, caret, something like this, And once you will embed, or once you will sign with that key, okay, then you can have the authenticity of that it is being transmitted from you. So when we're talking about blockchain, we are signing the transactions, which means that if I'm, let's say, sending some information from point A to point B, okay, the information which the B party received can know from the signature that, okay, this information has been sent by A. Okay, so that is what cryptography is. It's like a hash. You can think of as a hash or a key which is being used to signing of that transaction. Okay, just to make sure that it is authentic. Okay. So we're talking about immutability over here. So immutability is, let's say, if you are putting something on a piece of block, let's say I'm putting in a piece of block at X record. Okay, that record will be there till forever. Okay, that record will not be changed. However, there's a catch over here. If, let's say, if I want to change X from Y, and if the record has been updated, I have to put a different entry which will say that, okay, X has changed to Y. However, the initial record of X will still be there. So this is why we call as immutable. Then we have smart contracts in blockchain. Smart contracts means that it is a software program in which you can put the conditions of if then else. And let's say if I will receive 5 dinars, I will do shipment, okay, or if the conditions of my contract between A and B are met, I'll move to the next stage. Okay, I can just logically program the code into the computer and will put into this distributed ledger network, in which, let's say, if we are having 5 nodes, okay, or 5 computers, with smart contracts, I can easily program what this whole 5 computers is going to do. So that is what smart contracts are, and this is also what we are using in blockchain. So if you can think of, it involves cryptocurrencies, let's say the Bitcoin network or this Ethereum. This is also some of the protocols of blockchain. So if you just think of, these technologies are not something very new. We already see torrent working as a peer-to-peer network. Okay, we all seen the cryptography is not something very new. We all know that smart contracts, which is built on a new programming language, but this is not something new. So what we have did in blockchain is to combine the suite of technologies into one ecosystem. Okay, so this is what blockchain is. So when you think of impacting blockchain impact in the financial sector, you can think of, let's say, uh, uh, in which of the sectors, let's say if I'm talking about digital banking, or if I'm talking about just invoicing, or let's say a teller service, the records I'll be maintaining in each and every domain in the financial sector. Okay. And if, let's say, if I'm using, let's say, 5 or 6 people just to verify the KYC information, okay. However, if I'll just think of using blockchain in that KYC process, I know that if that information is in blockchain, I can easily distribute that KYC information into different banks. Okay, and that information can be programmable because I'm using smart contract in blockchain. Okay, so if you can just think of it, that the use case are enormous in each of the financial services that we are having. Okay, with respect to peer-to-peer, if you, let's say, remove the middleman from, let's say, if I'm doing a transaction from A to point B, from Bahrain to US, okay, I can directly send to that peer. I will not be involving any middleman. Okay, which means less cost. Okay, so this is, you can think of, like, it has enormous cases. Okay, so just to take you through the payment touch points, let's say that you want to buy a grocery. Okay, you are paying from your debit card. Okay, so I just want to show you, or feel, or get to know you, because once I'll take this thing into the blockchain use case, that how this will be going to impact. Okay, now if you're a customer, you just are doing the shopping from here. The amount which you debited from your card has to go through a payment processing service provider. Okay, which can be a bank or a financial institution. Okay, then it has to go through a payment gateway, because if, let's say, if you are sending from your BFC bank to any SAB bank in Saudi, okay, the BFC bank has to go through a payment gateway or a payment processor just to have your have your payment processed, because you have to go to, or you cannot directly reach to a bank in Saudi. Okay, you have to go to a payment processor which has a payment network. Okay, that in which area I should locate the SAB, and in which account I should be depositing the amount into the SAB account. Okay, so you have to go to a Visa or a MasterCard in this case. Then that Visa, MasterCard, or the payment network will have to go to an associating bank. Okay, then it will be, transaction will be approved or rejected. Then it will be also, the notification will then be again sent to the Visa card that, okay, this transaction is approved now. And then finally, the merchant account will be debited. Okay, but if you just see this thing, that if you are having a transaction of $100, and just to have this payment flow, what it will do, it will deduct your amount into various places. Okay, like, say, the acquiring bank will deduct $0.19, the master Visa card or the payment gateway will deduct, let's say, $0.13. However, the PSP, the payment service processing service, will also deduct some charges. So the end up product, which is of, let's say, you purchase of $100, the merchant account will be debited, will receive only $97.25. Okay, so where this amount is going? Okay, this amount is going into the different intermediaries which is being there in that payment ecosystem. Okay, so what do you think? This this $2.75 who is being, you can say, how the merchant is, or how the merchant is covering this cost. Okay, he has to increase the price of the product. Okay, the product that you are purchasing, because he know that he'll be end up giving, let's say, 2% of the whole amount to the bank. Okay, for that particular transaction, so he'll put up a high price for that particular product just to cover this cost. So this is how the current payment realm works, that this whole ecosystem. Okay, and also the amount will be debited into the merchant account in, let's say, 4 to 5 days. It will not be instantaneous process. Okay, so you are giving, so what you're having, you are giving some amount to the bank for this transaction. Okay, and you are also having this amount, let's say, deposited not the same day, on let's say 4 to 5, after 4 to 5 days. So this is why people or the merchants are not much interested in having this debit or having this point of sale terminal. Okay, he wants to have the cash thing going on because he wants to save the cost. Okay, however, if you just compare over here with a blockchain payment system, you will do that transaction, okay, with, let's say, 2 BTC or 1 BTC. The whole transactions or the whole network for you will be broadcasted. That transaction which you will do will be broadcasted to this whole network. Okay, and to validate that transaction, that whether the transaction that you have done is right or not, whether you have that 1 BTC in your wallet or not, okay, whether you are the legitimate user or not, whether you are, so what sort of validations that the bank do for using their internal departments, that validation will be done by the network nodes themselves. Okay, and once that transaction is verified, let's say, that transaction will be put in one block. Okay, let's say, okay, this block. So, and then once the transaction is uploaded in that block, you will just receive the notification that your transaction is completed and your amount is transferred. Okay, so imagine that compared to the earlier process in which we have multiple touch points in the payment ecosystem. Here, what we are essentially doing, we are just sending one transaction. Okay, that transaction is distributed into the network. Okay, and the guy who is validating that transaction, let's say that if he has the coin, if he's not double spending, this is all the check that he's performed. While performing it, the whole network is validating that transaction. Okay, and after only validating the transaction is uploaded into the blockchain. So that record, and this all take place in, let's say, in the Bitcoin blockchain network. This all takes place in 15 minutes. Okay, so you can think of like the transaction I'm doing is very fast. It has less cost. I'm getting a notification of my transaction, and I don't have to rely on third party, let's say, to track my transactions. I can easily communicate with peer-to-peer network. So you can think of how much save and time will be saved using this technology. Okay, so just a couple of questions for you. What do you think? How much fees is deducted for the transfer of 1 BTC? If, let's say, if I'm now 1 Bitcoin is, let's say, 50,000 USD, or or similar to this. So what do you think if, let's say, if I'm doing a $50,000 transaction, okay, if I'm sending from, let's say, if I'm sending to my friend in the US, how much he'll be end up receiving it? If you have any idea, and if I'm using the same thing in Bitcoin, how much fees deduction will be there? What do you think? Can you give me some idea, or just a brief high level about, I mean, it will be 1% or 2%, or how much would it be? If you can put your answer in the chat window, and Dr. Yumna can take it.
Yes, so we have different answers. Ruqayya is saying $1,000 maybe. Zainab is saying maybe 5%. And many agree on 5%. There are some saying 2%.
Okay.
There is a lot of 3%, a lot of participation. Just trying to catch up.
So, yeah. So now the thing is, how much fees is deducted depends upon which media you are using. Are you using a Western Union media, or you're using PayPal, or you're using which financial institution? Okay. And that financial institution, whether a Western Union or a MasterCard or a PayPal, have their own fees for that transaction. Okay, because if, let's say, if I'm sending to Western Union charge slightly less, which is, let's say, 2 or 3%, for that particular transaction. Okay, but the amount, it's more than what will happen once you will transfer one BTC. Okay, this is the main point. I mean, the amount will always be much higher if you are using a fiat to transfer in place of one Bitcoin. Okay, how many know that now Tesla has invested a lot of or purchased a lot of Bitcoin, and this guy Elon Musk is tweeting around here and there that, okay, I have this amount of BTC with me. How many of you know this? And the reason why main companies, let's say the PayPal or the Tesla or the MasterCard, why they are going into this crypto world / blockchain, why they are going it, because they see that if they have so much amount and they want to do, let's say, the transactions, they don't want to pay that amount to the bank, or they want to do this transaction safely without, let's say, having any surveillance, without having anyone looking for what are the business that they're doing. So they want to remain anonymous, plus they want to have their less fees, plus they want to have the visibility into the whole global space. Okay, so this is what is been there, once we're talking about this blockchain. Okay, so now my next question is, how many blockchain use cases in finance you can think of? Can you just name few with respect to, let's say, if you are doing a KYC thing? Okay, let's say, how you can use blockchain in KYC, if I may ask you, please.
Okay, so some are saying open banking. Ahmed is saying open banking. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, if, let's say, if I have to use blockchain in finance for the KYC procedure, how this will be going to impact, let's say. What do you think? The main thing, if you want to, let's say, explore any use case, you have to think about 5 key technologies, or main 5 fundamental core components of blockchain, which is, one is peer-to-peer. So let's say if I'm using a KYC in blockchain, if I'm using blockchain in KYC, that information I can give to the different banks. Okay, which is not kept by one bank. So let's say if you are doing a KYC thing for BFC, and if you have to open an account, if you have account in BFC, and if you want to open any account, let's say in SAB Bank or Bank Al Ahli, okay, that bank can take the information from the blockchain network. That bank will not have to ask you again that, please come to me, please fill out this form, So we will go through this eKYC case in a bit while. So I'm just giving you an idea about this. Okay. Now, if you, let's say, going to the payment and settlement procedure, instead of asking a middleman or a specific dedicated department just to go through this settlement, just to check the reconciliation records, just to make sure that he has enough amount, the bank can able to transfer to the bank B, blah blah blah. If I have to use this checklist, what if I can just put up a contract, a smart contract, okay, which is anonymous and decentralized. Okay, I can configure the steps on it, and yalla khalas. Okay, the transaction or the checks which the department will be going to perform will be automated using blockchain. Okay, so if you can think of from like the storage standpoint, that I can store this information and I can store this information, send this information peer to peer to the whole network. That information is immutable, cannot be changed, altered, and that can be automated. Okay, so you can come up with different use cases, okay, yourself. Okay, now going to the next one. Okay, so AI use case in finance. AI is, as you see that, it is rapidly changing alternative finance user interfaces, facial and voice recognition. We have biometric identity management. Now we are using, retina just to, scan and just to have the main or prevent any cyber threats. We have moved, a long way from that, or fingerprints. Okay, because fingerprints can be altered, or we can duplicate it. But however, the retina scan or the iris scan, we can still have some good security with it. So this is all possible while using the AI. And how the AI works, actually AI works on the machine learning algorithms that the data is being put forward, or the data is being precise. Okay, so with this we can also have, let's say, the chatbots. We see that in different banking application we are seeing the usage of chatbots. We are with this, all this data insights that we are getting, or the machine learning algorithms that we are coming up with this, so we can create new business models that focus on analytics of the customer data. So let's say if you want to use open banking, so what you're doing in open banking, you are getting the data from the bank, let's say the transaction, in an authorized way, and then building some new applications. Let's say that how much spending you are doing, or if you, let's say, if you have a target to save, let's say 2,000 dinars, okay, what habits you have to do, or what spendings you need to do, or what spendings rather you need to cut in order to meet your targets. How is that possible now? With all data analytics, we can see this open banking use cases, and AI is the forefront of this, within the forefront of this. Okay, so with cloud use case in finance, as I told you that we are having with this, if you want to, let's say, set up a bank previously, let's say 10 or 20 years before, okay, you need to rely on your data centers. You need to have a computing network, or all these layers in place to have that data storage, or to process that data. Now you can use the cloud infrastructure to still have the same thing, but you will be spending on the amount of traffic that you are generating. You don't have to pay this huge cost upfront. You can rely on, let's say, a small offering using the cloud architecture, and then you can facilitate and grow while your network is growing. So we can see different use cases. And by the way, the use of the smart watches, for this is only possible due to the use of the cloud database. Okay, because with smartwatch, or if you're using, let's say, the IoT sensors in the smart house, the IoT sensor is being bombarded with so much data. Okay, because the data for for sensing, data for storing, and if you need to process the data, so all that data, where it is going, it has to go to a database, which is the cloud in this case. Okay, and you have to also retrieve that data from the cloud, so you need to have low latency for that. So all these cases are related with respect to AI and cloud. Okay, so fintech ecosystem, let us go through a bit high level. So we see that lending process. We have seen different P2P applications in which, let's say, if you are a borrower, you can put your bid, and the lender can see your credit scoring using the blockchain network, or let's say the AI for your credit analysis, and then you can he can lend you the amount. You don't have to go to let's say an investment bank or a bank for that purpose. You can still have a peer-to-peer lending process, and this is where you can put your conditions in let's say a smart contract in which you can set the interest terms, how much capital, how much upfront amount you need to pay. So this is all this lending thing. So blockchain and crypto companies leveraging blockchain technologies for financial services. Here we know that so we have different use cases with respect to if, let's say, if a bank wants to cross some amount, or let's say a financial institution, instead of going to the fiat one, it can use BTC, which can which can save its cost, the transaction cost. Then we have RegTech. We see that for the RegTech, for the regulatory actually authority, so it is now much more important now than ever, just to be aligned about these new technology players. So they are also using the new technology into their regulatory methods for, let's say, the risk, or for the risk analysis. They are using different AI tools just to make sure that the risk management they're doing is accurate. Okay, or the audits, if you are having so much amount of data to analyze, or to check whether they are compliant or not, you have to rely on new technological tools just to give you more insights about the data, whether they are compliant or not. So we have seen different RegTech applications also. Then we have personal finance. We can be able to manage our track personal or credit account details, manage bills. This is, let's say, the new applications, or the open banking. What we are having a good personal finance application in which we can, let's say, if we are having, let's say, 2 dinars only, and we have 2 dinars in one day, we can save We can have a track about, if I need to, let's say, have a target of saving 100 dinars, what are the habits I need to, have it, So this is all possible due to this, new technologies in financial ecosystem. Uh, so it is payment, billing, insurance, everything. I'll not go into the details of this one, but as you see that there are different financial landscapes which are being impacted. And if you think of how it is being impacted, you can just see the traditional process and how, if I, let's say, use AI or blockchain or analytics, how it's going to transform. And you can yourself see in your domain that how we are being used to have different applications right now. So it is really amazing to see so all these the use cases. So what are the recent developments in the fintech space? If I start with ABER, how many of you know there is one project which is done by the Saudi government and the UAE government, which is the central bank digital currency? How many of you are aware of this? Let me ask you. Do you know this central bank digital currency and this ABER project?
We have one or two are saying they heard about it.
Okay. Okay, so most of you are not aware.
Others are saying it's new for them.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I just give you a basic or a high level information. So if you think about fiat, okay, or because now what the governments are being challenged with is, let's say, the general public are moving towards crypto space, or they are not relying on fiat currency, let's say the dinar or reals. They are using Bitcoin or Ethereum, or they are more inclined towards that crypto space. And the reason being, it is completely decentralized. They can control it themselves, and nobody can steal it from them. Let's say if you have your account in, let's say, BFC Bank, okay, and let's say if God forbid, if one day you get a call from BFC that we don't have enough money to give you back your money, what will you do in this case? Okay, so there are different regions. Let's say Lebanon, okay, people cannot have their own money back from the banks. Okay, if the government cannot pay them back, then so it's a big disaster. So now what the government are doing now, just to come up with a use case within the blockchain realm, you can say, to counter that thing. Okay, one such activity or a use case or a development is central bank digital currency. So instead of government giving you the fiat money, which is dinar, it will give you a digital dinar, which is, let's say, a digital coin, a digital dinar coin. Okay, in which, instead of taking it from the bank, now you can directly have your account with central banks. Okay, now what happens is, in the traditional or in the normal payment realm, the central bank print the currency, it will give to the bank, and the bank, you can have your salaries, and this whole economy works like this. The central bank is printing the money, okay, the currency. With paper money, okay, they can control the GDP, the economy, and all the monetary policy. Okay, however, with people going into this crypto space, and the central bank fear that, okay, we might be end up on the losing side, and the people can be, or can lead to fraudulent activities. So we got control of this. So they come up with their own digital currency, which is using a blockchain protocol to transmit. So let's say if Saudi Arabia and UAE have done this project, what it means, it is using blockchain to send a digital real from one bank in Saudi Arabia to the bank in the UAE, okay, using a blockchain network. Which means, if I'm using blockchain network, I can automate that transaction and have less cost, and can faster and quickly send the money from one bank to another bank B. Okay, however, this sending of the money in the usual practice, we use net settlement procedure or the RTGS procedure to send the money. Okay, so this is a new interesting project which is being done by the Saudi and the UAE government. So you can think of the impact of this project, which will bring into the financial sector. Okay, so the second project, is eKYC, which is going in Bahrain successfully. It has been recently implemented, if I'm right. It is still not been implemented in most of the banks, but it has been going well around. Okay, and so the blockchain use case that I was being asking you previously, like what blockchain for if you want to use blockchain, let's say in the eKYC or in the KYC procedure, how will that going to happen? Okay, so you can think of like this: if you have open an account in, let's say, BFC, and if there's a different bank, you will need to go to a different bank. Instead of that bank asking you all this information again, what they will do, they will query that record from a distributed ledger database, which is a common database in which BFC have already stored your information. They can directly query it from there. Okay, and if, let's say, if you that information is changed, you have your address changed, you have your number changed, that information will be going to be updated, and the initial bank which is has taken your information will be notified that, hey, this guy who have came to you or who have the account in your bank, this information is changed, so you have to update that information again. Okay, so all this process, you don't have to, let's say, go to the bank now to fill the forms and do the traditional things. Now with this peer-to-peer technology, the record can be sent directly to the whole ecosystem, and all the parties can be notified about if there's any change or not, and that whole process can be automated using the smart contracts. Okay, so this is one of the very good use case of blockchain which has been implemented recently in Bahrain. Okay, then there is Tarabut Gateway, which is open banking platform. Then again, with open banking, what if I have, say, a record in one bank? If I'm having my transactions going on, they have all my history, and there's a third intermediary party which say, let's, okay, please, can I have this record because I have to build some new application based on that data. Okay, this bank will say, okay, do you have the right to have this information? They said, yes, I'm authorized to have this information. So with that information, it can build the AI apps and uh, 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 tell the users that how you have to manage your own money. So this is from the good thing, and it is all based on the APIs. So with APIs, you can think of as cloud computing, or you can think of as database stored in the cloud network. Okay. Okay, then it is SARI payments, which is being done by the Saudi government or the SAMA recently, in which let's say you have to add your beneficiary. What you usually do is that if you want to, let's say, transfer your amount to one person, you have to activate him as a beneficiary in your bank. You have to bind his IBN number. You have to pull up these details. And then if you, let's say, want to send the amount more than 10,000 riyals, so you have to put the reasons, and it will take maybe, so let's say, one day at least, the amount, if let's say if you are making the transaction in the evening. Okay, with SARI-Instant payments, what they have done is that instead of putting or noting the people from the IBN number, they can do it using a mobile phone number. Okay, so it will be very quick. You can directly instantaneously send the money to your peers if the amount is less than 20,000 riyals. Okay, there are different services. So now, if we just see all these use cases, what we can think of is that technology is playing a very important role, whether it's blockchain, AI, or any other technology. Okay, and there are numerous use cases which are when we explored further. It's just not retained or contained to these 4 or 5 main development. The developments will be ongoing because we have the vision in Bahrain, we have the vision in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so the government wants to be, let's say, in 22 or 2023, they want to be a cashless society. So how they will be going to achieve their vision if they have the resources? Okay, and who are the resources? Resources will be will be you who will be graduating from the university. Okay, then taking any opportunity because you already having the financial background, how this whole ecosystem works in a traditional way. Now if you can excel yourself in with technology and have some market awareness, you can open a lot of opportunities for you. Okay, so just briefly, I'll be touching on the career development before we take the Q&A. So before you actually do something, let's say if I want to go to the blockchain space, what I'll do, I'll be a developer, or I'll go to the pre-sales. What I'll do, with while entering into this technological phase, I need to understand why I'm doing it. Is it my passion, or is it like if somebody else is doing it, I'll do it? What motivates me? Is it the training that I am delivering, or if I'm, let's say, selling a product which inspires me, or what I'm doing? So you have to understand your niche. You have to understand why you're doing it. Okay, let's say you have become a good fintech expert. What is the end goal? What you want to do? So put your goal. Let's say you have to be the best fintech expert in the Middle East. Okay, if you would put your scale bar right there in the top, then you will become yourself motivated. And because believe me, in this space you will came across a lot of people who will claim themselves a guru, or and a lot of, because these technologies are keep on evolving, so you have to keep up to date. You have to keep yourself up to date with how the technology is moving, so you have to have the solid reason why you are doing it and what is your passion. Okay, if you're in speaking, you can go to the marketing space, or you can go to the business development thing. Okay, or you are good in technology. Let's say you want to good in, you have to have your coding expertise. You can work your way through. Okay, so you have to understand why you are doing it and should match your passion. Okay, and the second is the professional development. Now, the best way, or the way that you can enter into the financial scape. Let's say, let me give you one example. Now, if I'm using, let's say, a normal SQL database, or a normal, if you go to any IT department, inside a bank, you will see different, DBAs or different developers who are building some applications. But the traditional work is being done manually on, let's say, a web application. Now with this whole big data coming into this, so many data insights, so many use cases, what they want is they want to explore different use cases. Okay, by exploring different use cases, they have to have, let's say, go to a different, let's say, consultancy firm, because if they don't have the resources, what they will do, they will end up going outside from their bank, and they will be seeking out the resources outside. For that, they have to raise and request for proposal. Okay, they have to raise an RFP. They have to have the requirements. Okay, what is the problem statement I'm going to solve it? Okay, if you have your problem statement, then you can have your business case that I need this 1, 2, 3 application. Okay, I need to have this KYC application, or I need to have this payment and settlement procedure. You will set up your requirement. Then your requirement will be sent to different companies who will give you their proposal that how they can solve your problem. Okay, so from exploring the requirement, exploring the problem case, procuring a consultancy firm for this application, then managing the whole software development lifecycle, because now everything we are moving to an application thing. Okay, so you can think of that this whole technical stack is been enhancing, and to manage that technical stack, you need to have your agile development methodology that you have to have your grip on, and also you understand the software development lifecycle, how that, because you have to also end up managing that team. Okay, so you have to have your professional development from, let's say, the project management methodologies, that which project management methodologies are in this space. Okay, which is agile, scrum, and all these things. Then also you have to have your pre-sales working, because you don't have you're not coming from the developer ground. Okay, if I'm right, so the options for you is in the pre-sales one, or on the business development one, or on the project management one. Okay, in this way you can have your different, you can excel your career in the different career opportunities within, by staying, let's say, the non-technical domain. Okay, you can go to the pre-sales, you can have your business development career, you can go into the cybersecurity space also, which is also very much evolving. So this is how you can professionally develop yourself. Then you have to have your market awareness, that what sort of trends it's been going on. Okay, if I came across a project, say ABER, or an open banking, how it is been solving the problem of the current, talking the current landscape, what tools they are using, what are the people that has been involved. So you have to have your market awareness going on within this technological space, and you have to have, let's say, read the blogs, be very active on LinkedIn, what is happening. Let's say that if there's any accelerator program going on, how many startups are pitching, what are the different products that they're offering. So you have to have your market awareness. And then the most important thing is the value addition thing. Because actually we get paid for the amount of value that we put in. We don't get paid for the amount of hours that we spend in the marketplace, because in one position there is two guys who spend, let's say, the same amount of hours, but somebody is getting higher salary and somebody is getting less salary. So try to be more valuable. And how you will be more valuable? Understand your why. You have good skill set. You have your excellent. You have your professional development working going on with respect to certifications, with respect, to knowledge, all these things. And then you are aware of the market, what is needed, what solutions that I will pitch will stand out from the rest, how I can be very presentable, from, because now if you see the competition is being getting higher. Okay, with the amount of resources that we get, we have seen YouTube, we can have different free certifications, so you have to be the best in your space in order to excel. So that's all about it. If you have any questions, please do ask me. And also, for if you want to, let's say, be connected with me, and if you have any questions, after this session, you can definitely, connect with me on LinkedIn. I have also my YouTube channel. You can see my YouTube videos, let's say, because I'm doing this fintech blockchain webinars, and I'll be posting some of the videos also. So you can definitely follow me. And please, if you have any questions, I'm very much I'm very glad to be in this session and be interacting with you guys. So, and you also please do share your feedback, what you feel about it. And yeah, that's it. Please, if you have any questions, ask me.
Thank you very much, Engineer Taha. It was really useful. Myself, I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting talk. All the students are thanking you. I'm just seeing if anyone has any question. It's all thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thanks.
It can be a technical question, or it can be related to the slide, or if there's any career that you want to discuss on, please do connect with me on LinkedIn, and or if you have any questions, think that.
Yeah, I think majority are just thanking you. I think
Can we?
you have one question. One question says that you said that there are 5 components in blockchain. Thing is, like, the questions are, there are some questions. Can you just please stop thanking him for a second, because the questions just go, they are jumping.
It's okay. It's okay.
So,
Let me clear my screen.
one is saying that you said that there are 5 components in blockchain. One is peer-to-peer. What are the others?
Okay. So the
Yeah.
I'm listening. You can unmute and you can ask me, please.
Yeah. Do you
Can
want
I
me to say
respond,
all
or
the
you want to?
questions?
Yes, we can have
Okay,
10
there's
minutes
other
for this.
question
It's
that's
okay.
saying, why are the government reluctant to go to a flat in favor of the cryptocurrency? As they worried about the decentralization?
Yeah, it's actually two things over here. So firstly, if let's say if the people are going towards crypto, it will benefit them, of course. However, there can be, because it is not being under, let's say, the licensing thing is still lacking, and they are not complete visibility about the licensing thing. Okay, so the government is actually facing trouble, or they want have their consumer safety. Like say the people wants to be safe for their transaction, so they are in a way want to protect the people. Also, they want to protect themselves, because if the people really moving, let's say, because if you can think of a government, if let's say if you are doing a transaction, all your transaction is completely monitored, and the AML, anti-money laundering checks, and the the of the terrorism, activities, or the preventing activities of such nature, they want to track on it. Okay, so if you're using blockchain, let's say, they cannot track you that easily. That's why government wants to play their role in just to protect the consumer, as well as to not let people move so much towards crypto. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And I think if anyone has any further question, they can connect with you on the channels that you mentioned. Thank you very much. It was really a great pleasure to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Can we have one picture, if that's okay?
Yes, yes. I would open my
because I don't want to miss this.
Yeah, if any one of you wants to open, the students, if anyone wants to open the camera to take a group picture, that will be great. Okay, probably they're all shy. Okay. Or they're not prepared.
Can,
okay. Okay, now we have two are opening now. Yeah.
Can we have a selfie in this? I don't think so, I think. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yamna. I think we can end it here, and Salah will be in touch.
I'll send you the.
Thank you guys. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.